Joining us now to discuss that and a big rally this weekend is the governor of the Commonwealth. Glenn Youngkin is here. Hello, sir. Good to talk to you again.
Vince, great to be with you. And listen, that's exactly what's happening in Virginia, which is a state that Joe Biden won by 10 points and that I was fortunate enough to win by 2 a year later, is tight. And that's why we got to get the vote out. And that's why this rally, which is at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning in Chesterfield County, Lara Trump's going to come and be with us. And we're going to get everybody fired up and then get everybody out to vote, because I'm telling you, if we get everybody out to vote, we win.
Vote Early, Win Virginia rally taking place in Chesterfield, Virginia. How is the early vote going right now, Governor?
I think it's going really well. We started in 2021 telling everybody, vote early, make a plan to vote early.
Yes.
And we've done really well as Republicans in Virginia. And it is great to see the national take up by Republicans to vote early. President Trump is telling everybody to vote early. Get out and vote early. Listen, we get 45 days in Virginia, which is a long time, but I'd much rather have everybody take the full 45 days and get everybody out than have somebody miss it on Election Day. And what I firmly believe is that we're going to get 1 or 2% more people voting because we voted early than we would everybody else showing up on Election Day, just because they'll not have a sick child or something happen at work or whatever it is. So I am encouraging everybody, get out and vote, make your voice heard, cast a ballot for the future of our nation. We got to get strength back in the White House with Donald Trump. We've got to flip our Senate, and we've got to give Speaker Johnson a bigger majority. That means we got to win down in the second. We got to flip the seventh. We got work to do, and that's going to require everybody to get out and vote.
Yeah. I know that obviously getting people to early vote is really important, and that is such a great message you've been carrying for the past few years. On this show, we like to dive into the data, so I'll ask you if you've looked at it. To what extent are you concerned that Republicans, although they look good in some of the early vote, that we may be cannibalizing Election Day voting? What do you make of that?
Yeah, so first of all, I think we're seeing a much higher percentage of the ballot that has been cast be Republican. Yeah. And to put it in context, I think back in 2020, the early voting, which was a lot because it was COVID, so it was artificially inflated, I think, was 65-35 Democrat to Republican. And I think we're inside 55-45, even with all of the mail-in ballots. So I think we have really tightened this thing up from an early voting standpoint. Second of all, I believe that we see a lot more folks that haven't voted showing up to vote. A lot of folks who haven't voted, and it's the same phenomena that we saw in 2016, which is where people who had not participated are participating because they're worried about the future of our nation. They want a secure border. They want a strong America. They don't want wars in Ukraine and Israel and China and Taiwan. They want to have an economy that lifts up everybody and doesn't unleash inflation that steals their hard work, their hard-earned money. That's what people want, and I think we're seeing a real shift with folks who might not have participated historically voting, and that's a big thing.
That is a big deal. So it's not just like Election Day voters in the past who are showing up early, although there are a lot of those. It's never voters who are showing up early.
Yeah, exactly right. There's two big things that are happening. One, people who have not voted over the last 4 years are voting. That's a big deal. And then second of all, I think we will have, out of 100 people who say they're going to vote and then we lose 1 or 2 of them on Election Day for some reason, we'll get those 1 or 2 who will vote because they've had a chance to vote early. So we will have new people voting, and we're going to get a higher number of people voting relative to what we've had historically. I think high turnout is good for Republicans. It's good for Republicans.
Yes, and the data demonstrate that in a bunch of ways, including among people who are not registered to vote. There's a lot of every indicator is that if they do become registered, that they would vote for Trump by and large, vote for the Republicans. How much of an indicator do you think Virginia's results will be for the rest of the country? Even if, let's say, President Trump doesn't win the state, which is what the predictions are at the moment, the conventional wisdom says. If he makes it close, if Republicans are close in the Commonwealth, what does that tell you about the rest of the country on Election Day?
Yeah, I think it's huge for the rest of the country. I mean, as I said, Biden won Virginia by 10. And it is tight. I mean, President Trump is coming up on the outside. He's scraping some paint on the way, and he's coming up on the outside. And Virginia is so much tighter than the Democrats want it to be, and that's why we're pushing so hard. And we got a real shot. Yeah. But what that means just being close is that Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona. I mean, those are the states that just literally 2 months ago in August, people were wringing their hands. And I was telling them, listen, don't pay attention to August polls. This thing is going to be decided in the last 6 to 8 weeks, and down the stretch is going to matter. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Policy is winning. Listen, she tried to run a campaign on vibes, and everybody said, wait a minute, but where's the substance? And there's President Trump talking about securing the border, talking about making America safe, talking about how to build a rip-roaring economy that lifts up everyone where we have low inflation and high growth, talking about how to project strength around the world with no wars. And she can't talk about any of that. And that is the difference right now. And down the stretch, Americans and Virginians want substance, and they want to have strength in the White House. And that's why these last couple of weeks matter so much.
Can you talk about, from your perspective, Governor Youngkin, the difference between these two campaigns? You mentioned that Kamala Harris was trying to ride on vibes. That's kind of like riding on vapors in your car. It's not going to work, really. You need actual gasoline. How do you see these two campaigns and the energy that they're projecting? Because I'm looking at President Trump's schedule, and it's frenetic. He's everywhere. He's trying to do rallies all over the place. He's on all these podcasts. He's doing a really robust campaign schedule. Yesterday, Kamala Harris didn't get on the campaign trail at all. She spent an entire day not on the campaign trail. How do you view these two campaigns?
Yeah, well, you just summarized it. I mean, we have President Trump who is working for America, and he is asking for America to elect him, and he's doing it personally. He is at McDonald's. He is holding rallies. He's doing media interviews. He's holding town halls only with women audiences because he wants to hear what they have to say. And listen, Kamala Harris is just trying to vibe this way in. And, you know, they've shifted their whole strategy now from trying to win on vibes to trying to win on anger. There's no substance. And this is an America and a Virginia that want substance. They want to know what they're going to do to win. And the bottom line is that the reason why Kamala Harris doesn't talk about substance is because the track record over the last 3.5 years has been failure after failure after failure on all the issues that Americans and Virginians care about. Can you build us a strong economy that'll lift up everybody? And the answer is nope. We're going to unleash inflation again because she says she's not changing a thing. Can you find some way to make America safe so we don't have 10 to 15 million illegal immigrants coming in and causing chaos? Nope, because what they've done is leave the border open, and that's what they plan on continuing to do. Yeah. Can you project strength around the world where we wouldn't have wars all over the place? No, because their track record says they have not done that, and she's not going to change anything. Virginians and Americans want change. They want something different. And President Trump is delivering not only on showing up, but also on the substance of the message.
Governor Youngkin, what do you make of President Biden and Vice President Harris's remarks about President Trump in the last 24 hours? President Biden said in New Hampshire that Donald Trump needs to be locked up before he tried to walk it back after that moments later saying, I mean politically. And then meanwhile, Kamala Harris today said that Donald Trump is a fascist who would turn the military against American citizens. We're reaching hysterical levels here.
Well, it's representative of a campaign that's in free fall. They literally are getting desperate. As I said, they started with the campaign of vibes, and that wasn't working. And because they have no substance and they can't talk about any of the issues, now they're going full on attack. And at the end of the day, Virginians and Americans want substance. They want to know that what you're going to do is going to work for them and make their lives better. And that's what President Trump represents. Strength back in the White House, strong border, strong economy, strong America. That's what they want. We're also seeing it in the Senate races and, of course, the congressional races. Listen, we've got a really tight one in the 7th.
Yes.
And Derek Anderson is doing a great job running in the 7th. And I would encourage everybody, please participate, support his campaign, get out and vote. We have a chance to flip that seat. And so we've got to get that done. And then, of course, we've got to reelect Jen Kiggins down in the 2nd. And, Hung Cao is running hard. He's running hard, and President Trump does really well in Virginia. Hung Cao is going to be right there with him on the ballot box. So, listen, and finally, let me just say, and what we're seeing in the big competitive Senate races in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Montana, these races, all of us, Ohio, these races are all of a sudden really bending towards the Republican contenders. And it has everything to do with substance and strength and where people want America to go, as opposed to vibes and anger and lack of policy and weakness.
One last thing on the election, then I have a question for you on gangs today, because I know you just announced a big initiative on this. But on the election, the Justice Department recently sued the Commonwealth over your very wise decision to remove non-citizens from the voter rolls. Are there any updates on that saga?
Well, first of all, the substance of their case really undermines the Department of Justice's credibility. Full stop. It's political. They launched this 25 days before a presidential election. I wrote my EO back at the beginning of August. This is a law that's been in place since 2006 and applied by Republican and Democrat governors. The last two Democrat governors applied this law in the 90-day period, which is one of their arguments that it shouldn't be in the 90-day period. They did it, and the Justice Department didn't say anything. And finally, the Justice Department back in 2006 fully reviewed this and approved it back in 2006. So this law, which is on our books, which I have no discretion, if someone walks into a DMV, and they identify themselves as a non-citizen, and let's just say that again, they self-identify as a non-citizen, and they end up on our voter rolls, either purposely or by accident, then we have a process to notify them, and they get 14 days to come back and affirm they are a citizen, and if they don't do that, they come off. And there's one last catch-all, which, of course, in Virginia, you can same-day register and cast a provisional ballot. So there are safeguards against someone inappropriately being removed from the voter rolls. These folks are self-identifying. It's been on the books for 18 years and applied. And here's the Justice Department deciding 25 days before a presidential election that they want to file suit against Virginia for doing something that is consistent with the U.S. Constitution, the Virginia Constitution, Virginia law. And by the way, these folks have to identify as non-citizens. They shouldn't be on the voter rolls to begin with. Right. And so that is my strong view. We are going to fight this because I want to make sure that Virginians understand that I stand for accurate, fair, and safe elections. We have paper ballots, we have counting machines, not voting machines. We have custody of those ballots. The drop boxes are monitored 24/7. We have clean voter rolls. And I want to make sure that everybody has a full faith in our election process, because that's my job as governor.
Governor Youngkin, finally today, you've issued an Executive Order 41. You say it's to launch the next level partnership to combat gangs and gang violence across the Commonwealth. This is actually of immense concern to so many Virginians, the status of gangs and gang violence in their communities. What can you share with us?
Well, let me just begin with the fact that we've got a problem, right? 650 identified gangs operating in Virginia, and the violence level and the activities of those gangs have become far more intense. Drug trafficking, human trafficking, and, of course, the crime that comes with that all the way up to murder. I mean, we just had two MS-13 gang members in the course of the last 5 months, both convicted of murder. This is what's happening. And with the infiltration of the millions and millions of illegal immigrants across the border and the Mexican drug cartels stepping up their activities in America, this is of grave concern. We have had a huge effort over the last 2 years with Operation Bold Blue Line, which has been a targeted effort in our most violent communities to bring down violent crime, and we've been successful. Murder is down 34% in those communities. We've had a huge effort to interdict the drug trade, and so what we call Operation Free Virginia has been working in two separate big efforts, collaborating federal, state, and local resources, and we've seized 2,000 pounds of illegal drugs, 450 pounds of fentanyl. Let me just tell you, that's enough to kill every Virginian nearly 10 times over.
Yes.
Thousands of arrests, $2.8 million of seized assets. That's, the drug seizures are worth over $2 billion in street value. It works. And so we are taking this collaborative effort and focusing it on gang activity. And it will bring federal, state, and local resources on a collaborative basis to focus on unpicking the statewide activity. We have crime that happens one place that's connected someplace else. We have drug seizures one place that's connected someplace else. the collaboration works, and we're going to get on this because Virginia must be the safest place in America, and our gang activity has really got me concerned.
And Governor Youngkin, how much harder is it to have that kind of collaboration when you have places like Fairfax County that insist on being, quote, sanctuary counties and protecting illegals in the prison system?
Yeah, it's a real challenge, which is why the federal resources have to be able to collaborate with state resources. And that's one of our big efforts. And we've seen it work. And we have seen it when we have federal resources and state resources and the local resources working together. We have tremendous outcomes. But sometimes we just have to go do the work. And that's one of the reasons why Attorney General Miyares started Operation Ceasefire back at the beginning of our collective administrations, because it allowed us to work with federal prosecutors. And when there is a violent crime that's committed with a gun, then all of a sudden we have a new level of prosecution with someone who is double badged, if you will, both in his office and in the federal courts in order to prosecute in the federal courts so that we can bring people to justice. This is just what we have to do, because I'm going to tell you, our law enforcement heroes work too hard. They take too many risks. They're too committed to allow their arrests not to go prosecuted.
All right. Governor Youngkin, thank you so much for your time today. Generous with it. And again, you'll be available at this rally on Saturday alongside Hung Cao, Rob Wittman, Lara Trump. It's going to be great. That'll be in Chesterfield, Virginia. It's the Vote Early, Win Virginia rally. Thank you, Governor Youngkin.